Before we get started today, I want to say thank you for every single like, comment, recommendation, and a very special thank you to my listener support group. If you like what we do here at Off the Deep End Podcast, please consider checking out the listener support tab on our channel's anchor link. Without you, we would not be able to continue the great work we're doing with these conversations, breaking down boundaries and helping heal each other by sharing our stories, our trials, our tribulations, and how we process them. Let's jump straight into this episode.
Are you thinking about making a podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one, and if I can figure it out, you definitely can too. You can create your own content all in one place for free with zero hangups and even earn money as soon as you get started. Spotify lets you record and edit episodes from your phone or computer so you can go mobile, just like I enjoy to do. My favorite thing about it is that you can create video episodes if you wish and upload them to wherever podcasts are heard. You can even set up subscriptions or, if you're like me, listener support options for listeners to help you grow. I 10 out of 10 recommend the Spotify for Podcasters app. Or, why don't you just step over to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your own podcast. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Off the Deep End Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Eddie, and I'm so excited for today's guest. Not only is she a member of the most amazing, beautiful warship that's ever graced the rolling seas, CVN 71, USS Theodore Roosevelt. She is also a singer, songwriter, and an outstanding human being who raises up all those around her. I'm so excited for today's guest, Miss Tiff Camero. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so excited to be here. You have no idea.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I normally go straight in. So why don't we start with the very, very nitty and the gritty parts, the childhood. Let's lay the foundation of who you are as a human being. What was it like for you growing up?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's so important because like writing for me a lot is just like a way to deal with my emotions. And so in order to understand that, I definitely have to walk you through my life and what that was like growing up. And I was born a Texas girl down by the border, literally like Mexico is your backyard. And my mom, she was married at a very young age, which I guess it wasn't like unusual back then to do that and to start a family. And my dad was a professional boxer. So he was already out, like he was doing his thing, traveling the world for matches. And like by the time I came along, they actually didn't know if I was a boy or girl. And I came out, well, he wanted a boy, obviously. And when I came out, I was the total opposite. And he was not happy about that. Like he walked out of the room and like didn't want anything to do with me. And so when I found out about that, I was probably a teen, and that was rough to hear about just because at that time you're still like finding out who you are and like who you are as a person, and you still kind of have this like need and like sense of like wanting to belong in this world. And I was like, well, he didn't even want me. And so I don't know. But ever since then, as I've gotten older, we've gained a relationship. And like the more I talk to him, like the more I realize that I'm a lot like him in a way that like we're very free spirited people. And he's a big supporter of like everything that I'm doing now.
Well, I'm glad it came full circle for you because that can definitely be in, a very crazy realization to come to hear that in your teen years. Oh my goodness. I think that it's important for everyone to know that they are, loved in amazing ways by their parents, especially as they grow. It's like a critical part of us growing as human beings.
Yeah, I definitely feel wanted. And so, I mean, things did get rough. Like my parents got divorced when I was 3. And there's a point where my mother and I lived in a women's shelter. And she eventually did meet someone else who happened to be from Oakland, California. So that's where I spent most of my childhood. And I don't have very many memories of before that, but the memories that came after that were so bad that it's like I could never forget them.
Oh my goodness. I often tread lightly when it comes to conversation with individuals about their childhood at all, because it seems that everyone around me has faced such amazing and overwhelming, like a tidal wave of turbulence in their childhoods. And that usually sets up that individual who survived those obstacles, those trials and tribulations, to become a great human being who is passionate about everything they do, who loves living life because they've seen what not loving life is like before.
Exactly. And you know what? It's funny because I was just telling my friend that. I was like, we know exactly what it feels like for it to be bad. So when it's good, like you need that to know what it feels like when it's good and for you to appreciate that. And we're going to get there. So it's going to be okay. And I'm just very compassionate. I feel like it's definitely because I have been through a lot.
So what happened when you made that move to the Bay Area? Because I know that it's not always just E40 music bumping and 40s being drank over there in the Bay Area.
I mean, there's a lot of that, but um I'm not going to say that there wasn't any good times. Like my mom was the best mom like anyone could ever ask for. Like she was a stay-at-home mom and like she loved us kids so much. But my stepdad was involved in like drugs and probably like some illegal things. I don't know, but I just don't think he ended up being what she thought that he was, you know?
That that's
And
a
so,
that's a very frustrating, difficult realization. It's happened to so many of my family members as well.
yeah. And so like domestic violence like actually became kind of like a normal thing in our home. And it's something that I witnessed often. And it made me like a very anxious kid. Like I started getting into trouble at school because if I got sent home, then at least I would know like if my mom was okay or if she wasn't okay, you know? And so I used to have like these awful nightmares. Like it's not normal for I don't think it's normal for children to have these types of dreams, but like I would have this reoccurring dream. And I remember it so vividly. Like one of them was like being stuck in a maze and I couldn't get out. And then the other one was like being in this dingy, like dark room. And it was something like you would probably see in a Saw movie. And every time I would go to the door, there would be a chain on it. And so, like, I'm running to the next door and there's a chain on it. And I'm running to the next door and there's a chain on it. And I feel like that was so, that was just kind of probably how I felt about my real life. Like, I wanted to get out of that situation so badly.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody going through any form of home abuse being it being a positive experience, and especially not for the mind when we're at rest, when we're not moving, we're not busy at work. Those are my most terrified. I can be transparent on this episode and on all of them. I get terrified of things not going on my life. Just sitting down on the beach or working in an office with no work to do is a terrifying idea to me, or relaxing. It terrifies me because those are the moments where we're haunted the most. And often it is as we grow, as we're children and everything, it often happens to us in our dreams when we're in that state of relaxation. I stopped
Mhm.
having night terrors about a year ago, I would say. Hopefully. I haven't heard any reports from my lady or from anybody around me that ever sees me pass out on a couch after working long hours a weekend and who's hanging out with me and my family. But these nightmares, they can be they can grip you like a vice grip of fear, anxiety, depression, a complete state of unrest while you're in your most relaxed state, which is your subconscious. And the mind is a scary place because it's not just the movie Inception where Maul is over there waiting to
Right.
jump out the window. That was a terrifying movie for me as well, because when I'm sleeping, my demons show up, and it can be hard. It can be
Hmm.
hard, especially when childhood stuff's going on.
Yeah, there's usually like a lot of trauma that comes along with that. And just like, yeah, those dreams are really scary. And it was definitely symbolic to me, I feel like. And being in that situation, I just felt so small. Like as a kid, I felt like I didn't have a voice. Like there wasn't anything that I could ever do to make it stop until like one day this was happening and I'm trying to run out of the house. And it's a straight shot from the kitchen to the living room. I know when I get there, I have to unlock the door and I'm ready to like run. And so I actually somehow get out of the house and run to my neighbor's house, which happened to be my aunt. And I'm running like Forrest Gump, like for my life. Like if I don't know, but I started knocking on the door and I'm knocking so hard. Like if they don't answer, there might not be a tomorrow. And he actually got arrested that night. And like one thing that I always remember about that time, just even living in Oakland in general, my mom always had MTV on. And this was back like when MTV played music. And it was TRL and like you're seeing like Aaliyah and you're seeing like the boy band and like all like it was just so cool. Like it's so nostalgic. What's funny about music is that it literally can act as a time machine. So
Yes.
it can take you back to a time and like to a place. And so yeah, I loved that. Was kind of like an escape to me. And like you would see like the rise of like pop punk and like as I got older it was like 106 in Park and like you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Not all of it was great. I think I don't want to diss on anybody, but like there's a whole lot of people saying that they had the number one track or whatever. Bow Wow was always talking about the number one track he
Mhm.
put out, and I was just like, I would look at the charts and we would talk about him at school, and I didn't see him balling out all the time, and I was like, I really like his music, but is he really balling out? Music could definitely be a time machine because when I listen to your music, I think about my middle school days and the nostalgic feelings that show up is overwhelming. I love the fact that I can hear a certain vibe from a song or smell something or hear a sound that takes me to a different time in space.
Yeah,
It's
for
usually
sure.
sometimes it's not always a positive time, but that time machine ability, we do have it. We do have the ability to remember back. And it's not just pictures that warm the heart or freak us out. It's everything. But music, wow. There's something
Yeah.
special about music.
What's so fun about that is just how rough like these past couple of years have been for everybody, like after COVID and just like everything that was happening. It kind of makes it feel like that was like the good old days and like just a simpler time. So for you to say that is really so awesome because if it's taking you back to like the 2000s and like that vibe, like that's a good time. And that was a good time to be alive. So
Hell yeah. I remember all the stuff. I remember people wearing shorts that were way too long, looked like almost like capris, like baggy capris is what the guys were wearing,
yeah,
and the long
chance.
t-shirts. Oh god. Everybody writing on their
Yes,
sunglasses after Soldier Boy for some reason.
yes.
Everybody wanted.
Y2K.
Oh man. Oh man. Oh my god. There's so many. Stomp the Yard. What You Got Served. All the great
Oh my
cultural
gosh.
movies that we've had that
Yes, like
inspired
Bring It
others.
On. So much fun.
Definitely.
It
Definitely.
So after that, okay, I was already getting into trouble, like I said, at school. And so my family, like, they wanted to move to a place where it would be like more calm and like less gangs and things like that, like less sideshows and like all this craziness going on. So they decided we're going to move to Oklahoma. And this was like closer to my middle school years. Um, and my stepdad at that time, he was like, I'm going to go work. I'm going to go back to Oakland and work. And we never saw him again after that, actually. So he basically abandoned us. And, I watched my mom like be upset about it. And like, you know, it was sad, but it was actually a really great thing.
Mm.
And for me, I felt that personally. Like I was glad.
Good. Yeah. I would say
And
goodbye. Yeah. Deuces.
yeah,
Deuces.
and it was
Domestic violence has
okay.
no place. No place around a child. Any domestic violence has no place around any adult. Domestic violence is a scourge of humanity. You know, the episodes that I've had that have covered it, it removed pieces of my soul. Like my hope for humanity was dwindling listening to another human being talk about what it's really like to be trapped in a situation where you don't think there's out. That hurt
Yeah,
me. Like domestic violence, the effect it has on kids is huge. It's not just for a time being, it's not just a quote unquote bad relationship. It affects people forever.
yeah, and that's such a true statement. Like you feel it, like it affects you later in life for sure.
So after you moved to Oklahoma, what was like one of the major culture shocks that you observed?
Okay, so when I got here, I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, am I gonna ride horses here? Like, what's going on? So different than the Bay Area, but I got used to it. I actually ended up graduating here, and throughout my high school years, I was in band, I was in choir. I tried to be like in any musical possible that I could be in. I was a creative. Like, you are not going to see me on the basketball court, probably. Like, you don't want me out there, I promise. But yeah, definitely. I started writing. I've always loved writing. I was in AP literature and like I just loved it. Like, give me an essay and that's cool, but like not math at all. Never math.
Yeah, definitely not. Mass for the birds. I don't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, so um at that time, like, okay, so my grandpa, he was in the army. And I remember going through his like photo albums and his pictures, and I just thought, like, if I ever want to be like anybody in this world, like, I want to be like my grandpa. And he passed away actually a year ago. And so I don't think I ever like talked to him about this, but he was definitely an inspiration to me. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna I'm gonna join the Navy, and I want to do something like bigger than myself. And actually, surprisingly, like my grandparents didn't really like that idea because they just didn't think that was a good place for women. But I was like, I'm gonna prove everybody wrong, and I'm gonna go and do this. Like, I don't ever want to feel like I look back and wish that I did something. And so I don't want to live with fear, and I don't want to live with regret. And so I did it. And that's basically how I've been living my life.
That's badass. That's definitely badass. That's so exciting because I for anybody to say that ladies don't belong in the military or that it's a bad idea for a lady to join the military, it's a complete fallacy. Everybody belongs in the military who wants to be there. That we are a nation of volunteers. People sign up. They put their name on the line saying, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to put myself out there and whatever happens, I'm not in control of. I don't get to decide where I deploy. I don't get to decide who shoots at me. I don't get to decide whether or not I hit my head on a jet that I'm that's coming from behind me. I don't get to decide what color of a shirt I'm going to wear. I just got to get qualified, right? Nobody gets to decide these things. Putting yourself out there and joining the military is one of the most amazing, prestigious things you can do as an American citizen because it's not required. You don't have to sign up and give up years of your life to go to some god awful country and get shot at by people when you
Yeah.
probably don't want to be there in the first place.
I mean, I feel like the military was a great thing for me. I'm not going to say like it was just complete bliss. Like, we all know that. Like, we all have dealt with like the bad leadership and like,
Oh yeah.
all those things, but for me the military really gave me um confidence, and it was something that my family ended up being like so proud of me for. And I felt like it was something like worth my time and like something worth being proud of. And so getting out of the military kind of had this like crisis like, who am I outside of this uniform? And like, what is my purpose away from this ship, like out of the military? Like, what am I going to do with my life? And like, I really didn't even have a plan because I didn't want to get out of the military. It just ended up happening that way. And so my self-worth kind of like crumbled a little bit because I wasn't sure what was going on with my life. But I decided to go to school, and I went to South Carolina and started using my GI Bill. And so there's definitely resources. Um, but yeah, I went to school for interior design and enjoyed that. But I had to move back to Oklahoma kind of suddenly because of a family emergency. And when I came back, um, I'm like starting over my life again. And it's just kind of stressful. Like back when I was in the military, like I had time to work out when I wanted to. And that was like a big deal for me because like I really like working out. And now like I'm in this like reality of like real life out here in the real world. And you have like a job and you have school and you have like all these things going on around you. And it just got kind of like crazy. But um
I think there's so many of us experience struggles with the military transition, finding out who are we outside of the uniform, what is our purpose, is you something you touched on, and it's something that's very critical to how so many of us leave one chapter of our life and go to the next one. I had this amazing opportunity. Mooney Brontes sent me a message and said, "Hey, I'm going to be coming in to Seattle. Are you still there, little brother?" And I'm like, "I'm his little brother. Cool.
that's
I
so
get down with
cool.
that." I ended up meeting him. He flew there. He just had to stay the night there because like flight got delayed. Something weird happened, but he was coming from Japan, and I'm pretty sure. And wow, to lay eyes on somebody who I valued as someone as inspirational as a father to me, and who was there when I lost my dad when I was deployed, and a great human being. And he told me that sometimes it's time, it's okay to let go. Sometimes it's good for you to close this chapter in this book of life. There's always the next thing going on. It doesn't have to be over, but you need to close the chapter when it's time. And if I didn't hear that, I can openly admit I would definitely not be on earth alive today. I'm so thankful that that perspective was gifted to me through this conversation, because it had to come from somebody who's been there. We often, as veterans, when we leave the military, we have difficult time adjusting to how other people operate. What is it like? I'm so used to this has to happen and this has to happen. There's no option. You have to be there at this time. This is your structured lifestyle. And then the chains drop, or the keys get gifted to us, and we have this whole life in front of us. A lot of us don't know which way to turn. Even there's 360 degrees. I definitely personally struggled with the transition, and I'm glad that I now have a support system in place, and an amazing group of people. And even this conversation right here, you saying that you had to redefine what your purpose was, is going to help me later on when I'm wondering, like, what the fuck is my purpose? And then maybe my purpose is just being the best version of me, without a label, without a box to live in, without this, without that. Maybe it's just being the best me.
Yeah, and that's so true. Everybody's kind of going through something, and I had to tell someone the other day, like, just thank you for being here. Like, this world is already great just by having you here. And like, just giving people some time, like a little bit of your time, and like hearing something kind or like something good and like meaningful, like it helps so much. Like, you have no idea how much that could have helped somebody just get through the day.
100%.
And so the stress was definitely there after just, all these different transitions and things going on. And so my way of kind of like dealing with it was not very healthy. there's a time when I definitely had an eating disorder, and like the misconceptions about that is always that it's like just about weight, or like that person must be so vain, or that it's only in females, which is not true at all. Like it seems like in the past this was diagnosed a lot to teens and like probably young women, and it's kind of like what would make a person like purge or binge or like throw up or like chew their food and not eat it, or like, you know, all these different things, and like different ways that people are coping like through eating disorders. And really there is a lot of like deep rooted issues happening within that person, or like trauma that hasn't been like addressed. And there's just so much more going on than just like body image. And
Absolutely.
there's really 28.8 million Americans that experience an eating disorder at some point in their life.
Wow.
And now definitely I would say like with the rise of like social media and like influencers and Photoshop and like surgeries, I would say like even more so.
Definitely.
And it definitely like distorts like our view of what's like beautiful, and like the line between like fake and reality is just so blurred. It leaves a lot of room for like comparison.
Yes, a comparison is bad. You know, we often let society and life kind of shovel us away into these weird boxes, this label. Oh, this person's just a black person or a white person, Mexican, Hispanic, Christian, Jewish, Catholic, atheist, you know, gay, straight, whatever the fuck. These labels, they don't mean shit. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people are very proud of who they are or the things that describe them. I'm happy for them too. But being called a label by society is not who you are. You're capable of doing great and powerful things. You don't need to fit a certain mold. You know, I had this amazing pastor tell me something when I don't practice religion right now. I might not ever again, but my spiritual journey started at a young age of understanding this thing called life. And this pastor told me, God created you to do great and powerful things. When he made you, he broke the mold. No one is like you, and you deserve to be loved. That, as a child, is exactly what I wasn't getting from my parents, to be told that. So it was huge to me. How great would it be if we all took a second every now and then, and told us, hey, look in the mirror. You're beautiful. You're worth it. You don't need to see seek affirmation from likes or views or listens or whatever. You're good enough just how you are. And I noticed that in this show. Oh my God, Siesta Key. Madison, I think it was the young lady's name, and she was telling herself this in the mirror when she was having a lot of anxiety attacks, and it went like viral. It was made a short on YouTube or something like that, and I watched it and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a good practice. Some people were being rude and belittling her for talking to in the mirror to herself. When you don't have anybody telling you that shit, life could get really dark. It can.
Wow, I haven't seen that, but really a lot of times like in our heads we're telling ourselves things that we would never tell anybody else. Like how rude would that be? And so we're mean to ourselves sometimes. And so I feel like it's so important. Like I could tell anybody like that is going through that anything, like definitely like those thoughts don't ever 100% go away when it comes to like eating disorders, but we feed our mind, like what we feed our mind is just as important as what we feed our actual bodies.
I know that's right. It's so important to develop the mindset, the positive mindset of kind of sometimes it's just shutting up those mean voices in the back of our head. Can you think you can do it? Are you sure? Do you think that
Mm-hmm.
you have what it takes to accomplish this goal? That person is taller than you. You tore your shoulder. Are you really think you're going to do jujitsu now? You didn't shoot that as much as you want to do in the Navy. You'll never be a good shot. You suck as a husband. All these thoughts that erupt in our minds once we're in that turbulent time of finding our purpose. I think that's really where we grow the most. We don't know it right at the time. It seems really shitty, really tough, but we're growing the most in those moments where we are experiencing pain, trials, tribulations, uncomfortability. These safety zones and comfort zones are often dead zones. It's us as an individual is really pulling us through the situation. And often when I'm going through a tough time and someone helps me out with it, if I didn't listen to them, their message would be mute. It would mean nothing. But it's up to us to be willing and accepting of love and help and assistance from others experiencing these things, and also transversing this thing called life in general. We need a team. It's good to have people who you rely on and stuff like that. Who do you rely on in life?
Actually, what is so crazy about that is I was talking to another friend of mine who's an artist, and we were saying, like, it must not be a coincidence that we're all alive in this lifetime. Like, I could have been born in like the 1700s or something, but like, we're here together now. Like, what you are bringing to this world, like, it matters. Like, right now, it matters. And so we're like calling it like this soul family. Like, that's our soul family, like the people that are there for you and like that are supporting you, and like you can go to, like, that's your soul family. And I think that's so cool.
Me too. I can get down with that soul family. That's gonna be a new label. I'm gonna stop calling people my friends and let them know who they really are to me. I thank you so much for
Yeah.
giving me that, because wow, I don't tell people enough how much I value them. I wish I did it more. I've tried to do practice recently. Every time I think about somebody in my mind, who's close to me, who I miss or whatever from my time in the Navy or from my current life, I reach out to them. I just send them a text. Hey, just thought about you. Hope you're having a great day. Bye. And they're like,
Yes.
okay, well, thanks. You don't have to say bye. We can keep talking. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess we can, or whatever. But I just letting people know that they're in your thoughts. That's special, right? Reaching out with these
Yeah,
connections.
that's so amazing. I've been doing that too, actually.
That's good. It's a huge practice, right? I think that if
Yeah.
more people know that they're thought of, it will really help. But also, it gets rid of this weird social, just complete nonsensory of this social anxiety that comes with the time we spent away from each other during Rona, right? When that bitch knocked on our
Hmm.
doorstep, you couldn't hug people, you couldn't high five people. I couldn't go to the shooting
Yes.
range. There
It
was
was
no shooting
so
range.
fucked up.
Yes, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. We all yearn for connection. We're human beings. We want to experience life together. And life is so amazing when we do it. When we don't, when we stay away from each other, we isolate each other. Isolation can be a gift, yes, but more times than not, isolation can be a dangerous place to be for those who have negative thoughts rolling around in their head all day. Like I don't like to be isolated. I try not to be. I try to make sure I control the good and bad seeds that I water every day with my actions.
Yeah, and I think that's so good. Just imagine how far that can actually go. Just imagine, like, you stopped and like told that person in the street something kind, and they were going to end their life, but now they chose life because of you, and now they get to enjoy like their kids and their grandkids. And that's just something that it lives on, like the way that you treat people. Like, people remember that. Like, I'm going to die one day, my body is going to go back into the ground, but the way I treated people, the way that I was present and there for them, and the way that I made them feel, they're going to remember that. And that's how I feel about my music too. Like, my words are not going to die. And I feel like it's not just about me when I'm writing my music. You obviously like want it to resonate with the listener, and it has like a way of like connecting people and like bringing people together. And I've for a long time felt like I didn't belong, and like just so misunderstood. And so if there's other people that feel like that, like, I want my music to be a place where they feel like they belong.
Wow. Wow. Well, that is absolutely magical. I got to be honest. I have quite a few friends who dive into music as well, as a form of self-expression, a form of helping others cope with things. And I think it's any artist or any musician or people who create things, the people who are providing to our culture in America and all over the world, they create this awesome thing called life. Life, us, if we all just stood here and didn't vibrate with excitement every time we got the idea and we pursued it, and it was successful or not successful, if we just stood still and didn't move and didn't do life would suck. I don't think and also this world, we're consumers a lot of times. People consume food, they consume music. The people that create culture, that create music, they're really talented individuals, and you're very talented yourself. I'm very excited for, not just the future of your musical career, but also the message behind it and just what you do in general. It helps me through my day at work. I get tired of listening to the same old shit. Fuck bitches, shoot people, kill people because they're from a couple of streets down the way, and do it all over again until you get caught up because you're snitching on yourself in your music, like a couple of people who got hit with the Rico. But like this stuff gets old. I want to go back to a time in my life where I didn't have to worry about bills. I didn't have to worry about my friends committing suicide. I didn't have to want to worry about the military and the effects that it has on me. I didn't want to worry about tearing my shoulder and being broke for half a year. I want to just go back and enjoy life. And I think your music has this great way of doing that, because it takes me right back to the years where I was growing up and I was listening to where I was able to just breathe without stress. That's what your music does. And I think that it's not said enough. Thank you for creating art. Thank you for creating things that help me escape. Thank you for creating things that help others escape and cope with this weird thing that we're all in, this life thing. Life can get kind of weird sometimes. You never know what you're going to
Yes,
wake up to.
that's true. And like, thank you so much for saying that. I try to make my music to where it's meaningful and like it's a real story and it's very personal to me. And I know that there's other people out there that feel like me. And that's why I put it out there. Like it's never about like fame, it's never about like money or anything like that. It's just about I have a story and I know that other people would connect with that. Like it's not just me who feels like this. And so it's telling other people like it's okay, like you're not alone. And a lot of people feel alone.
I know that's right. We you and I have both deployed with some people who've removed themselves from this world, and there's nothing positive about it. There's nothing easy about removing yourself from this world. Murdering yourself is never a solution. Um, it doesn't remove the pain from life. We can often get rid of the turbulent times by going through them with others and growing through them afterwards. But t- removing your own life only passes the pain of those around you who care still. And that's kind of the whole premise of this podcast is don't pass the pain. Your life has value. You are enough. You will see that the second you look in the mirror and stop looking at others to compare yourself, or stop looking for what's next. What do I have to do now to stay relevant? You are relevant enough as a human being. Just be you. Be raw and authentic. And I love that you said that, because that's a raw and authentic statement. It is. You want things to resonate with others. A lot of artists don't. They just put out whatever's hot or whatever someone else is saying. I think that it's important to have individuality. The whole idea of putting things out there to the world, it's brave, right? I'll tell you what, you will not hear me putting out any new music for the rest of my life, because that's not what I do. That's not what I do. My voice is not improving. It's getting worse. It's getting more raspy. So you won't hear me
Stop.
singing on a track. I think it's important for people too, though. If you're good at something, why not, right?
Yeah, and it's funny that you said that because this is a very vulnerable thing to like put so much of yourself into something like a project or even just a song, and that's a piece of you and you're like sending it out into the world And like people are going to judge it, like they're either going to hate it, they're going to love it, it's whatever. um but it's you, you know and that's okay. Like, just don't be afraid of failure, because we never like learn anything from that, like you are from winning. Like, if you just won, like you're not learning a whole lot. But like failure, you learn from all of those, and like all those baby steps
Yes,
until you get to that big goal.
100%. And failure is never final. I failed so much shit. I love failure. Failure makes me a more powerful human being. When I fail at things, I now know that weird feeling, that stress, the weight kind of sets in of that failure. You can either be really sad and let it crush you, or you can feel that pressure and start to step in front of it and have it push at your back towards success. Success isn't, this amazing huge goal or the finish line. Success is something you can achieve daily by just believing in yourself. Getting out of bed is successful. Telling somebody you care about them today is successful. Asking yourself, how
Yeah.
can I love me more, is successful. Soraya just came on my podcast and talked about that. Having a relationship with yourself is success. It's really important for all of us as human beings. If we're to, truly reverberate around others, is to be comfortable with who we are. The more insecurity we hold and we carry in every conversation, we're not really letting ourselves be ourselves. And so I think it's so important for in general in life that we love ourselves. One, give in to self-discipline. And self-discipline can be as simple as I hit snooze 20 times and now I'm late. Tomorrow I'm shooting for 19.
I
Baby
mean, I'm
steps
working
are
on that.
successful, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay, my baby steps are like waking up 10 minutes earlier than the day I did before, because I'll be waking up at the last minute. and
It's just like that sometimes. It is what it is.
and so, but really, I feel a lot like in life, I felt like I'm not doing enough. I felt like I didn't want to like fall into this abyss where like no one's ever gonna like remember me. Like, I'm never gonna have like this legacy, and like what am I doing today? Like, I joke about it like there's never enough hours in the day. Um, but really, just kind of like there's a lot of people going through things. Like, if you just survived this day, that's all right too.
I know that's right. That is absolutely correct. I love that. I love that you have the outlook. I think it's so important to talk about that, the simple steps that we take. Often we compare ourselves to giants, to the people who are on the billboards, most seen. Not everybody who gets into martial arts needs to be the next Conor McGregor. Sometimes you just looked for the I Love Kickboxing class to stay in shape, or
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to go to Orange Theory to have the best workout of your life. Sometimes the best workout of your life can be going for a walk at the end of the day with your dogs and your loved one, right? Comparison is a dangerous thing. And I think that I definitely tend to sprint away from comparing myself to others because I'm an individual. I'm different. And I think Jay Glazer said it best when he was giving a speech down there at Dallas Fort Worth just last week. He said, "Motherfucker, I'm different." I love that he said that because he is different. He swears in a suit in front of hundreds of people. So, yeah,
That's so
he's
awesome.
definitely
I love
different.
that.
Absolutely. So I really have to know, how does one cope with seeing domestic violence as a youth and not letting it, repopulate later in life? Because how many times have we as human beings heard of a friend growing up in a violent household and not setting healthy boundaries for what they want in the future? There's been a lot of times where that DV environment does create a lack of self-belief, self-worth, benefiting from the great human beings that we really are. How does one set healthy boundaries?
Yeah, there's definitely like a lot of self-reflection about that. Just looking at my childhood, I always like I grew up thinking like I am never gonna let that shit happen. Like, I'm not putting up with that. And so I'm pretty like I'm a pretty strong person, I would say. And I have very strong opinions. And so I try not to I don't I know there's a lot of like self-worth that plays along in that, but I don't know. I just think that wait, hang on. Okay, I would definitely say that boundaries are so important. And just growing up around it, I always told myself, like, I'm never going to let that happen. And it's sometimes easier said than done. Like, whenever you think, like, oh, I'm just so in love with this person and you would do anything for them. But I would say, like, you definitely have to know when to walk away from that. Like, it's never okay because, especially if you have children, like you don't want them growing up and thinking that's okay. Like you don't want your daughter thinking like a man should treat her like that. And like you definitely don't want a son to think that it's okay to treat women like that. So if anything, like if you have children, like if you don't have enough self-respect or like self-worth for yourself, like at least like for your kids, like it's so important like for their future too. So just like I don't know, leave. It's
Leave.
not worth it. Yeah.
It's not worth it. You heard it
Get
here
the
first.
yeah, get the fuck out of there.
Get the fuck out. All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. So there's a whole lot of new projects that you're working on. You were kind enough to share some with me. What does the future of your musical life look like? I know you're always working on art. You're very you express yourself through art. And I think that's really awesome to have, a great identity tied into self-expression is so important. What does the future look like for you?
Um, the future, I like to think like I haven't even lived like through the best parts of my life yet. So I'm looking forward to so much. I am not going to stop making music no matter what. Like if I don't win a Grammy, that's okay because this is something I enjoy, something that I love to do. Like when I get in the booth, like I'm not that anymore that doesn't have a voice. Like and that's where I have like my voice, like that's where I can tell my story and like my soul is in it, like my heart is in it. And so like if you're not cool with it, then that's okay, but I'm still going to be. And so I'm working um on releasing the key. It's actually all finished. It's going to drop this Friday. I'm super excited about it. Yes, this Friday. And so the way that I laid it out, the track list, it starts with Loner. And Loner is a song about feeling like unwanted. And it's about kind of like, that runaway, like that person that wants to get away from everything and like be their own person. And I wrote that at a time when I really kind of felt like that. I felt like I was getting like this negativity and like quit, like just stop, like why are you like this, like I don't understand you. And I'm like, okay, I just sometimes want to run away. And I feel like a lot of people have felt like that, like a lot of people can relate to that. And so then like we have Why is the second song, and then it's Whatever, and those are both kind of like relationship songs. um XO is I'll explain that song a little bit. It goes like this. It says, just like ecstasy, I think you're my enemy. You take all the best of me. I still crave your company. So it's like a drug. Sometimes we go through these relationships and it's like a drug to you. Like you get addicted to how that person is making you feel, even though they're not good for you and you know that. And like you still crave their company, like you still crave that. That's basically what that song means. And there's a lot of that, and especially nowadays, like how people kind of like glorify like this toxic like life and toxic relationships. um and people kind of just stick around for it. But I'm not going to say it's good, and I definitely don't judge that at all. But yeah, this song kind of like that's where it came from because I was started feeling that way and just seeing it like around me.
Yeah, it's
And
definitely
so,
common. It's definitely common.
yeah. And then Heaven Knows is a song that I wrote after my grandpa passed away. And it's, there's definitely these sad, like, undertones in it. And it's about grief, and it's all these things that we're going through. Like, we have like these emotions and these like relationship problems and like people around us are dying. And then like we get to Out of Order, which is the last song. And on Out of Order, it's basically saying like it's okay, like if you want to act like the world is over, like just cry about it. Like if you're stuck inside your brain and you feel like out of order, like it's okay, like just take a moment and it's gonna be fine. And so I chose to lay it out that way for a reason. And so yeah, it's fun. It's fun to just be creative with it.
I can imagine. Oh my goodness. To lay out a piece of art that it's multifaceted. There's so many different angles that you're providing to the world, whether it's talking about loss, talking about love, talking about the relationship with yourself. And do you want better for yourself? Do you ask better for yourself, or do you settle for someone who's not possibly good for you? And also checking out sometimes. Take a day to yourself. Self-love, self-care every single day. Our friend PJ, right? He was talking about self-care Monday today, and I'm like, you motherfucker. I want a self-care Monday. How come I don't got a self-care Monday? I might take a self-care Monday. On like a Monday when I'm supposed to be at work or dealing with everything, I'm gonna take the whole day off. Why not?
Yeah, I know
Why
PJ is
not?
he's such a good friend to me, and we talked about this before, and I was like, I can't wait to hear your episode.
I
But
love
yeah,
him. He's super
yeah,
great. I think he
yes,
reminds me of exactly nobody because he's an individual, just like you are, right? I think people who have booming personalities, no matter how quiet and reserved they are when you first come around them. One thing I noticed about others, especially on our ship, we had a whole lot of big booming personalities that deploy with us. There was nobody who was just kind of there. No,
yeah, that
everybody
was
had the
a great
style
crew.
that I could. There were some bad seeds. There were some bad
Okay,
seeds,
well, yeah,
but for the most part, for like 90, I would say 99, 90, 98.5% of everybody was phenomenal. Wow. How many big personalities that we were around. I learned a lot about myself too, not just because of music or whatever while I was deployed, or not just music in life, but the people I was around. What are some of the lessons you learned through the people around you in the military?
um, I would say like being around so many different people, it definitely taught me a lot about like who I am and just like not conforming because everybody like you have different races and like different backgrounds, and it's kind of beautiful. Like imagine like if a painting was all just like one color instead of like a million colors, and it makes it more beautiful, it makes it more vibrant, and so like just be you. And what I loved about just the military is how you kind of get to like pick your family. I mean, you have to work with them, but like, a lot of people that you choose to hang out with outside of the ship, like you get to create your own family. And I've built some awesome connections and I have some like lifelong friends. And it's just really beautiful.
That's awesome. I'm super happy for you because I definitely have the same feelings as well. Who are some people that are inspiring you every single day right now in your life?
Um, well, artistically, I would say um there's an artist called Mod Sun. I think creatively he's just so phenomenal because he also goes along with like not conforming, and the things that he's doing is just really, really cool. And it just shows you like being an individual, like being yourself can change the world and the way other people are viewing it. And so that, and then my daughter, I mean, I have my daughter, she is so cool. She's way cooler than me. But she teaches me like to slow down. Like I told you, like I feel like if I'm not moving at a certain tempo in life, I feel like I'm not doing enough and like getting enough done. And she kind of like slows me down and like shows me to kind of like pay attention to the small things. And then I'm like, like, hey, I didn't notice that over there. And like, she just showed me that, or she's like reminding me of things. And I'm like, oh, I used to do that as a kid. And it's just so cute. But yeah, she definitely inspires me in life. And I just want to be the best for her.
I love that. I think somebody said that being a mother is to know true selflessness. You have to absolve yourself of ego, of who you are as an individual, and give everything you can to your child. I think that mothers are capable of great acts of nurturing, of power, of protection, of aggression, of excitement, of support. I think that mothers are great things. And I want to say a belated Happy Mother's Day to you. I think that the journey of being a parent, you can have such a tremendous impact on the rest of the world, not just through your personal music, but also through your child as well. And I think that's badass.
Thank you so much for that. And I also think like sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, and so I just kind of wanted to mention about how like society, or even just ourselves, we kind of like put this time frame on life, on like whether like we have this idea like, okay, this is when we made it, like you've made it, but like really, when have you made it? Because as humans, like we're always evolving. And so really it's just like a constant thing. And so with my EP, it's called No, and I really would be so excited if everyone took some time to listen to it. And it'll actually drop on Thursday night at midnight, and so it'll be available everywhere. Like Friday morning, you can put it on your way to work or whatever. It's called No, and like I'll kind of explain that a little bit. Whenever I was going through this whole project, I felt like a lot of people were saying like, no, like stop being this, like be more of that, like no, just quit. And there's like all this negativity. And I was like, this is me saying no to you. So I called it No. And that's kind of how that came about.
I love it. I love it. We should never listen to anyone who tells, the naysayers, people who don't see or envision something for themselves. So they just put it out there on you, like apply it to everything you ever want or want to achieve. Oh, you'll never be good at that. Just give up, quit. It's bullshit. They're bullshitters. They're bullshitting themselves, and they're trying to bullshit you into believing that their flawed sense of reality, their small mind, their weak backbone, and their pathetic jelly constitution as a human being is wanting or it can even contribute to the things that you want in your life. Everyone should reach their own mountaintop. Nobody should tell other people they can't achieve anything, or because they don't see it for themselves. Fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, regardless of like age or anything, like if you have a goal and like you see it and you have that vision, like for sure go for it.
100%. I get down with that. I can down with that. So that it's official then. This Thursday at midnight, the EP No. by Miss
Yeah.
Tiff is coming for officially getting dropped. I cannot wait to tap in. I know the first day I cannot wait. First day. I'll be awake 4:45 a.m. I start listening.
Okay, great. Awesome. You're probably going to be the first listener because you're on the West Coast. So you're like 2 hours like before me. So,
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll tap right in immediately as soon as the day starts. 100%. Excellent. Well, there's one last question I really wanted to do. You know, I don't do it often enough. How does somebody heal from experiencing a very, very turbulent childhood? What steps does somebody take?
well, it takes a lot of self reflection and just telling yourself, like, okay, maybe that was like a time in my life, but like, what did I learn from that? And so, like, it did make me stronger. I feel like as an adult, I can look back and say, like, I don't regret or like take back anything in my life because it makes me who I am today. And like everything that I've learned from that, it's important. It makes me, it's a part of me and it makes me who I am. And so, even though that time was hard, like, I was resilient and I was strong, and like our minds are so much like can be so strong. And that goes back to like what you're feeding it and like what you're putting into your mind. And I try to be positive, and like it could paralyze me if I really stopped and just like thought about like all the negative things. But I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to live life that way. I just want to move forward. And like I said, like the best parts of my life are probably still just waiting for me.
Wow. No, that's super exciting. I think that looking forward to the future with optimism and taking steps to make sure that we are self-empowering in general, to raise ourselves up in the down times, or to lead ourselves through the darkness sometimes when we need it, when we're surrounded by the ugliest, deepest, darkest parts of our minds that critique us, that tell us we can't achieve anything, or that we're going to end up like somebody else. Comparison. These are all dangerous things. But when we really have self-love, self-worth, and demand that life kind of conform to our plans, we can really rule this thing. And I really do think that's awesome. Well, one of my most favorite parts about your music is the nostalgic feeling that I receive from it. So why don't you tell me, as kind of last question for this, what is your favorite part about making music?
It's definitely a process. Whenever sometimes I will, because I just love writing, so it'll come up like an idea in my head. Maybe like I'm driving down the road, or I see something, or like I just feel something, and like a line comes up, and like my my voice memo app in my phone, it has like 200 messages, like 200 recordings in there. And I feel like other artists probably can relate to that, but it's just like, oh, I just have this idea and I don't want to forget about it, or like it just means something to me. And I go back to that. But yeah, the process is sometimes I will go off of a beat, or I will go off of an idea or a feeling or an emotion. And after writing it out, um, it's time to get in the studio and just sing my little heart out. And after that, I work with this guy named Max, and he's a producer and an engineer, a sound engineer in Ohio. He's in Cincinnati, and like he is probably like one of my favorite people to work with ever. We just understand each other, and like he helps me a lot. Like I trust him with my music a ton. And so yeah, I get on with him, and like I've recorded with him actually in Cincinnati before. But since we're so far apart, like I'll just record out here sometimes and like send him like the stems and we'll get together. And we've been working really hard these past couple months, and we're finally getting to see like what was just an idea or maybe just a feeling. It's finally coming to life. And it's awesome to see that, like to go from there like to the end. And it's just an amazing feeling.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, you know what? Maybe there is some hope for my musical career. No, I'm joking. I'm just playing around. There's definitely no way. Definitely no way. But I really do admire that you're on your path. You have a clear vision of what you want to accomplish and you're going for it. And you also express yourself and you hope that other people, can find solutions to their problems through your music. I really do think that's really badass. I appreciate you coming on today to tell me all about your music coming up. Everybody, this Thursday, make sure to don't forget to get it. If you say no to me, don't say no to listening to the EP. No, don't miss out. This is going to be a great opportunity for you to support not just a veteran, but somebody who is pouring their heart in their music, and also a great human being who hopes that you can find solace through music. So if you're going through a tough time, maybe check it out. Why not? Thursday at midnight, it is released. I'll be listening Friday at 4:45 a.m. as soon as I wake up to be in my office for the time before I start my job. So Miss Tiff, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing a part of your life. It's never easy to talk about the obstacles in life that we face and how we challenge them with every single action after a tough time. But you made it seem very, very effortless by how you talked about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it definitely takes some bravery to talk about it, because at one point it was very hurtful. Um, but sorry.
I often think about the most turbulent times and the most difficult moments for me. And it doesn't become easier to talk about. You just learn to be more resilient about how you present it. And every time you do share something that you've experienced, maybe a dark time or some dark thoughts that were crippling you, every time you express that, or it takes a little bit of the weight off your shoulders. I often compare it to putting like 500 pounds on my back on a squat rack and just pulling it off, and with no spotters, no nothing. And I start to go down. I'm like, oh shit, this is getting heavy. Oh my God. Oh my God. There's no way I'm standing up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm falling over. And with every time we try, it gets a little bit easier.
Yeah, even today, just coming on here, I felt like, what am I going to say that's going to like really like stick or like stand out to people? And, there's like this expectation. And I'm like, you know what? Like, that's not true at all. Like, maybe I'm just on here to show people like it's okay to be vulnerable.
100%.
And that, yeah, and that takes being brave too.
Yes. Yes. Vulnerability is never an easy thing. And I'm so thankful that you came on today to talk about it. I wish more of our mutual friends thought that it's okay to be vulnerable. I wish my grandfather, when he came back from Vietnam, thought it was okay to be vulnerable. And I wish my friend Andrew last year, his anniversary is coming up. I wish it was more okay for him to be vulnerable as well. Human beings are loved, and when they remind themselves how loved they are, often is not the only time they see it. We get shown love in so many ways. When we resonate with a song, when we remember to turn on the light in our own lives, when we watch Harry Potter on binge mode in our Harry Potter onesies with our Harry Potter wine glasses. That's my self reminder of who I love, myself. Sometimes we can't always be perfect. We can't always have expectations, but we can always live through experiences when we keep trying, when we don't give up.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate your time, and I cannot wait to listen to the new tracks as soon as they drop. Everybody, don't forget to tap in. Like I said before, this Thursday at midnight, or you can join me at 4:45 in the morning. You can send me a text, let me know you're listening. Everyone, make sure to stream No. It's going to be on YouTube and all other platforms as well. Make sure to tap in, and don't forget to share this episode with a friend, because Lord knows people need to know that they are loved. Thank you, Miss, for your time, and I appreciate you sharing today.
Thank you so much for having me on here. And honestly, I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing too, because this is also something that is going to last forever. Like, you don't know like who this is going to connect with or like touch later down the road. Like, this is going to be forever. And this is something that you're a part of. So it's huge.
Wow. I never even looked at it like that. Thank you so much for saying that. And thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much to each and every single one of you listening out there. I want to let you know you are capable of great and powerful things. There is nothing and no mountain that you can't climb and you can't achieve. All you have to do is look in the mirror, because you are enough. God damn it. Don't look for, self-satisfaction in others. Don't look for self-love in others, because you have everything you need right between those shoulder blades and right between your ears. Much love to you. I hope you're all doing well. And thanks for listening to another episode. Bye-bye.